Hello everyone, and welcome to Road to Reason, A Skeptic's Guide to the 21st Century. I'm Rick Wingrove.
And I'm Larry Mendoza.
And thanks for joining us here on Sunday, October 27th, 2013. Doing something a little different today. We're going to have two guests on today. We're going to start with an atheist hip-hop artist from Utah, of all places. His name is Sickness, and he'll be with us for the first half of the show. And after that, we're going to switch over and talk to Lori Hodgson, who is, I guess the way to say it is an escapee from Scientology, who will explain to us some of the ordeals she's gone through with, first of all, getting away from the church and the aftermath, the blowback with her children and everything. It's quite a story, so we'll be getting to that. First, I think we've got a couple of announcements.
Yeah, so first of all, again, thank you for joining us. I would like to say a couple of things about the show. We need your help to contribute to our show, and you can do that in two ways. The first way, obviously, is to have some send some money. And if you look right here below on the lower third screen, you can see where exactly you can make out your check. That will help us with a number of things, getting a better set, better graphics, also bring in guests actually in the studio so that we don't seem to have all these technical difficulties that we have sometimes through Skype. And things like that. The other way you can contribute is if you live in the Northern Virginia area, in the Fairfax County area, you can come on the show. We need female hosts. We need people to work the studio in the back, and help us out. We need hands on deck. So okay.
A couple of other upcoming things.
Yeah, some news items.
This kind of ties in with our guest who hails from Salt Lake City. American Atheist Convention this year will be in Salt Lake City. And that will be in April. I don't have the exact dates in front of me, but you can find it on atheists.org website. So look for that. That should be interesting in the heart of Mormon country.
Right.
Second of all, if you're anywhere in the Washington, D.C. area on November 6th, this is a Wednesday, I know, and people have jobs, but we will be rallying on the courthouse at the steps of the Supreme Court regarding an upcoming case concerning Greece, New York, which has to do with public or prayer in public meetings, and the fact that the Obama administration has filed an amicus brief in support of allowing public meetings to be converted to essentially Christian rituals. So to start, so come down and join us on November 6th. I think we'll be there probably before 9 o'clock in the morning, and we always have a lot of fun at these things.
So, and if you're local, Beltway Atheists and Nova Atheists, if you go on our meetup, Nova Atheists, you can find us there. We'll have a meetup for that, so you can log in, join the group, and then you can get some more details there.
Okay.
So, all right. Trying to see, I guess, if we can get started with our first guest. I'm hoping we got the audio working. We're having some issues. Sickness, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
All right, wonderful. Welcome to the show, Sickness. That's great. This is the first time we actually have a musician on the show and a hip-hop artist. I've been a fan of your music for quite a while now, and so I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks very much.
So, yeah, absolutely. So let's start with I guess my first question is, let's talk about you. So you were born and raised in Utah, Mormon country. Were you ever religious, or were you born and raised atheist, or what's your story? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was born in Michigan, but I've been raised here my whole life. I grew up mildly religious, I suppose. My mom was never really into religion. Can you guys hear me good?
Yes, we can hear you. Yep,
Okay,
We got you.
My mom was quasi-religious. My grandma was Mormon. My great-grandma was Mormon. My great-great-grandma was Mormon. Everybody was Mormon. And so we basically just grew up around, nothing but Mormons. But I never grew up particularly religious, though.
Okay, good. So you never really bought into it, so. All right.
No, but when I was maybe up until about 13, I thought it was a good thing.
Sure.
I didn't really believe in any of it, but I did definitely think it was a good thing, and looked at it positively, because I grew up with my grandma and my great grandma were very religious, and they were the kindest, great people. I looked up to them. They were my role models. So, I attributed a lot of that to religion.
Good.
But mostly religion, for people that don't know, Mormon church is quite boring, like compared to other churches. You can go to some church and they'll sing and clap and dance. It's fun,
Apparently, you haven't been to a Catholic mass.
No, I haven't. So, I don't know. But I know that Mormon churches are exceptionally boring. So that's all I thought of church was boring. And people that believed in God and religion and Jesus were good people up until about the age of 13. And most, a lot of religious people are still good. I still think that. But up until about 13, I just thought it was a good thing. And then after that, I started questioning things.
Right.
So.
Yeah, right when you start to think about things, yeah.
And when did you start performing? When did you realize your musical potential?
Well, I started rapping in high school. We did like battles, freestyle battles, things like that. I always did things like that, but nothing with an atheist tint to it or anything like that. Probably about 16. First started recording music when I was about 20, and I'm 32 now, so it's been quite a while. So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I know you've been doing a lot of recently, a lot of atheist hip hop, and you work with a lot of other people, Great and Square being one of them. We have a video actually from your last album, I believe it's called Apache's Rain, and we'll show that here in just a minute. But I wanted to ask you, so I know Great and Square was in a couple of other rappers, which obviously you're in, is Grand Unified. So talk a little bit about that. What is that? Yeah. Can you talk to our audience about that a little bit?
Grand Unified is a collection of artists. They don't even have to be artists. It's just a collection of like-minded people that are free thinkers, a rational group of people that are trying to spread that to people that otherwise wouldn't pay attention to that or hear it or even think about it. And I think hip hop is definitely one of those avenues that atheism is very foreign to hip hop in general.
Yeah, so you guys speak, I know hearing you and also Great and Square in your lyrics, you clearly have a message about, other rappers that, rap about, bling and money and women and all that, and instead you guys are trying to get a more serious and a more rational message out there. And I think it's wonderful because it does reach out to the youth, which is important. And not only that, you guys do it extremely well. I mean, I've heard other rappers besides you, and I can't remember all of their names right now, but all the people in the Grand Unified, family, I guess, so to speak, that are doing wonderful things. And I love that you guys also do collaborative projects, which is great. So you have...
we have 2 Grand Unified mixtapes that are out, or they're not really mixtapes, they're just compilations, and there's a lot of good stuff on there. I mean, I encourage everybody to check out GU. Yeah. Everybody there is really talented, so for sure.
Where can we find GU? Like, so on YouTube? Do you guys have a YouTube channel?
Well, there's a website, We Are Grand Unified.
Okay.
And then you can look up just Grand Unified. You just Google it. It's there. Everything's there. So.
Good. Well, let's do this. Why don't we go ahead and show one of your videos from your last album, and then we'll talk. Maybe when you come back, we'll talk a little bit about your new album coming out. So let's go ahead and roll the video.
Welcome to the rain.
Learn in quietness and in full submission. I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man. To be in silence. This is the word of God. Kneel before it and embrace its truth. I know of some in Alexandria who admire and even trust in the word of a woman, philosopher Hypatia. A witch, a woman declared in public her ungodliness. Let's stone her. Let's stone this witch.
Yeah, have y'all heard about him? Y'all heard his third album? These little virgins in the turbans getting burnt round him, and pedophile priests are always getting murked round him. It's like a curse hounds him, sitting up on his perch, clowning, throwing dirt down on the earth, wowing him with his words from the first to the third verse, crown him the king. LeBron James, this ain't no ball games. He came to a wash brains ever since his first album. You hear that melody of madness in his candy cap rap? Around and get a handicaps, fanny pack, jack, candy rap. Is his hacky sack, baggy daddy half crack? Is Michelle Obama's baby daddy half black? Can Jackie Chan scrap? I'm about to put a curse on your spine. Goddamn, the man's back. Ignorance is bliss, about to get your happy ass hacked. Cause the ghost of Hypatia of Alexandria's back.
Welcome to the ring. Welcome to the ring. Welcome to the ring.
Yeah. This is the end of ignorance, the end of Leviticus, the end of his is missing. So is a clitoris. Are you sick of this ridiculousness? Did Mr. Smart's little Miss Elizabeth visit with the polygamists? Did Christians show up on the shores of America to forcibly show indigenous primitives what religion is? It's wickedness, cause these witches wanna burn faggots like the pile of sticks they used to burn witches with. The reign of the burka's about to go out with a bang, like the brain out of Kurt Cobain on the furniture, dang. I watch these women throw their burkas in the furnace of flames and not have to worry about the brothers burning their face. This is the reign of Hypatia, but your brain is in danger from the babe that lays in the hay in the manger. Look at your breath, tell it I'll save you, cause you worship a maker, the same maker that saved you from the maker that made you.
Welcome to the ring. Welcome to the ring. Welcome to the ring. Hey, witch.
Yeah, when Muslim women are no longer treated like slaves, when Muslim men no longer want to fly planes into buildings and kill civilians, and when the billions of people embrace brilliance, then we might change. I'm not a pacifist, but we need a better weapon besides fire when we decide to fight flames. You're feeding me my oatmeal, giving me migraines, with all these politicians playing these mind games. When capitalism realizes kids trapped in a prison, make for cheap is bad for the system, and we are no longer attached to religion. Well, we are no longer held captive by irrationalism, cause half of these Christians are actually wishing for Jesus Christ to come back in some kind of rapture to get them. I see you laughing like I'm actually kidding. I'm not, I'm as serious as fatal brain cancer in children.
Welcome to the rain, come and feel the pain of the brilliant woman who was persecuted and slain. Cut up into pieces by the followers of Jesus. Now the flames of ignorance will drown in the rain. Hey, witch.
So yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. I think that was a wonderful. I specifically like that song off from your new album or your last album. There's a few other songs that I like, but yeah, that's great. And what I like about your music is that you cover pretty much all religions. I mean, no religion goes unscathed with your lyrics.
Well, there's a lot of rappers in Salt Lake here, not particularly good ones, but they do a lot of that bashing Mormons all the time. But they don't think about any other religions, and I'm when I point out to them, what's the difference here? What's so big about Mormons? Mormons are maybe a slightly more crazy version of something that you believe in, but it's the same thing. You guys believe in the same thing, basically.
Yeah, I mean, usually it's people that bash other religions who are religious, don't seem to realize that there are similarities. And I think that if you really look at all religions equally, you will see that there are especially the Abrahamic, the three main, religions, there are very similar.
They're certainly no crazier than the Southern Baptists I grew up with. So.
Right.
Yeah, and to be honest, a lot of Mormons are. Living around them, I'm probably immune to a lot of the craziness. I just see it as normal. But a lot of people here, they feel like they need to just like backlash against Mormons in particular. And I'm like, look. If you're going to apply that same reason and that same strict standards of rationality to Mormonism, let's do it to everything, And I don't get great responses here. So.
Yeah, you get a little pushback in Utah.
Oh yeah, a lot. There have been times back when I used to battle rap. I did a lot of battle rapping back in the day, and there would be times when I was on stage and I would use clever little religious metaphors. Just to get their attention. And most of the time, I gotta say, it worked. People were really into it and they thought it was really interesting because they'd never heard anybody do that. But there were several times where I could have just got beat up on stage because people were, throwing up gang signs to me, flipping me off, threatening me on stage. I've had a mic slapped out of my hands before.
Gang signs because you're bashing Mormonism?
Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
We have a thing called here called the Mormon Mafia, and there's people that gangsters walk around with the Book of Mormon in their back pocket, and it's like, really? That's
So I guess it's a little step up from when they go 2x2s wearing the little name tags and white shirts. I guess the Mormon Mafia is a little bit more extreme.
I thought that was the Mormon Mafia.
yeah.
Short sleeve white shirts.
So that's crazy stuff. But anyways, tell us about your new album, what it's about, what I believe it's called, The Nausea. Do we have a graphic of that we can show real quick? And but just tell us a little bit about it.
Well, The Nausea is it's my fourth album, my fourth studio album. I have other albums, but they're entitled Songs That Should Have Never Been Made. So they're basically my B-side albums. So if you look up some of my albums, you'll see that I have a plethora of albums, but I have 4 main studio albums. This is the 4th, The Nausea. And it's inspired by a poem Edgar Allan Poe wrote.
Okay.
And in the poem, he says, the sickness, the nausea, the pitiless pain, that ceased with the madness. Oh gosh, I forgot it. That's the beginning of it. And it's basically, I'm a big Edgar Allan Poe fan. I just love Edgar Allan Poe. So that's what inspired the name of the album. It's basically, there's many meanings to the nausea. It's the reaction, being nauseated with the thought of just religious indoctrination, religion in general spreading, atheism being viewed as if you're an atheist, you're a pariah. But then there's also on the other side, it's the nausea of not attaining fame, of not making not just fame, but just making success of yourself in life, And I think we all feel that to a certain extent. We want to do more. And my favorite of the Four Horsemen talks about this, Sam Harris. He talks about that if we're constantly looking for something more, we're never truly living in the now. We're constantly thinking this next thing that I can attain, this next thing that I can achieve will make me happy. And part of that's kind of what the nausea is too. Constantly looking for something better when we need to just be content and not complacent, but content and happy with what we have.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I kind of want to emphasize. A lot of my music is rational and atheistic, and it deals with those issues because that's who I am. But a lot of my music is also emotion driven and things about my life in general, and just things that I think anybody can relate to. And I just would like people to see that side of it too.
Right.
So, I mean, I get people that are not atheists that like my music, and they say I do too much of the atheist stuff. And then I have atheist fans. They say I don't do enough of it, And I try to balance it. And honestly, I don't think too much about it. I just do it, and I hope people will like it. I put everything into it, and I'm really, really dedicated to my craft, and I really hope that people would check it out and see that I'm doing that.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm just an old white guy. What I don't know about hip hop is astonishing, but I like the song, and it was a strong message too. And I think that's important to put that message out strongly, visible and vocal, and just be everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that, music, number one, needs to come from you. If it doesn't elicit emotions within yourself, it certainly is not going to elicit emotions into everybody else. And that's with any art form, really, in my opinion. And I think what you're doing, balancing, hip hop with atheism, and I know Graydon at some point was struggling with that as well. He got so caught up into the atheism thing, and then, he started going back towards hip hop being really what it's really about, and for whatever message, and it's great, and I think it's great. On that note, I also want to ask you and ask our viewers if there are any other musicians out there that want to come on our show. This is the first time we've had a musician on our show. We need more atheist musicians or that don't necessarily have to sing or rap about atheism, but that are rationalists and want to come on our show and maybe promote some of their music. We would ask to share sickness. If you know anybody else, I know you
Sure.
know a lot of people
like you. It's a whole aspect of the atheist community that's growing. Every convention you go to, we see new people, and a lot of the same people and some new people every time. And I think it's important to have this as part of our message.
Yeah.
Well, sure, I will spread the word. And I know Graydon Square, I'm sure would be happy to come on too. And
I'll be reaching out to him soon.
Yeah, Graydon's awesome. There's a lot of guys, Tombstone, all these guys out there. And I think that's one of the best things I like about this whole, hip hop and atheism is, like Rick, like you were saying, you like the song, and rap has this really bad connotation to it. Everybody, when they hear are you a rapper, are you a hip hop star, you like rap, they have this view in their mind of what you're listening to, and it's there's so much out there that's not that. There's so much out there that's better than what you think of in your mind when you hear rap and hip hop.
Well, the little I do know in my little exposure, I do keep seeing things I like, and I also got exposed on HBO a couple of years ago to slam poetry, and that was a whole new world for me, and it was so energetic, and I really loved what I was watching. So I see new stuff all the time that I really like.
Like I said, I used to do battle rapping back in the day, and I go on YouTube now and I see some of these battle rappers, and I'm blown away by how good they are, man. It's crazy. I mean, there's a lot of talented guys. A guy that's a non-atheist, he's not a secular rapper or anything like that, but Tech 9, I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Tech 9, yeah.
That guy's amazing too, and there's a lot of guys out there that, I mean, rap is it's just, I love the genre of rap. I just love it. So.
I mean, I'm a big metalhead myself, but I've listened to everything. I've listened to some hip hop. I used to love Tribe Called Quest and old Nas and things like that. But I started. Metal is my passion. Maybe you can do sometime. Some metal stuff.
Hey,
yeah.
Right here, this is Terra Vega. That's my little brother's metal band.
Awesome.
You gotta check them out because you might like them. They're pretty dang good. So I'm going to be doing a song with them shortly. So
I definitely will be checking that out. That's awesome.
And hardcore. So
that is great stuff.
And I'm going to send it right to you, Larry. You're going to love it.
Good. You got my info. Awesome.
Their band kind of talks about conspiracy theory, so there'll probably be some subliminal things. I'm taking shots at them and that. About the conspiracy thing, because that's one thing that drives me insane is conspiracy theories. So.
It gets pretty nutty sometimes. Yeah. Well, listen, we're running out of time with you. Thanks so much for coming on our show. Once a new album comes out, maybe at some point we'll get you back on, and we can once you get some more videos out or something. Love you, have you back.
Thanks for being our first ever musician on the show.
I am honored, you guys. Thank you so much.
At some point,
I didn't know you hadn't had a musician on before.
No, this is the first time. And I think at some point we want to bring musicians into the studio. So once we get people to help us donate and bring people out here, we have another studio here where we can do actual live music. So we'll keep in touch. All right.
Thank you guys so much, man. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for being on.
All right. Well, thank you. So we're going to go and take a little break. Our next guest is going to be Lori Hodgson, and we're going to be tackling Scientology. So bear with us, and we'll be right back.
This is Richard Dawkins. Doing commercials is unfamiliar territory for me, but I'm inviting you to watch Road to Reason, a skeptic's guide to the 21st century, on Fairfax Public Access every Sunday. Each week the hosts tackle wishful thinking, religion, pseudoscience, and the harm they cause, with a combination of facts, humor, and community involvement. They challenge believers to defend their faith and give you, the skeptic, a voice. With live call-ins for viewers and streaming on the World Wide Web, there's never a dull moment. Don't wait. Look at them now on Facebook and YouTube. And remember to watch Road to Reason, a skeptic's guide to the 21st century, or there'll be hell to pay.
When I was younger, I didn't want to admit I had a serious disease. Because of my diabetes, I lost the sight in my left eye. Misconceptions continue to surround this monster public health issue. But the simple truth is, diabetes can often be prevented and complications avoided. You're not alone. Understand the realities of diabetes and know that you can manage it and lead a full, active life.
There's an alarming trend in the world today. Everywhere you go, people are saying that cinema is dead. But cinema is not dead. My name is Count Simon Gauntley, and on my television program, Count Gauntley's Horrors from the Public Domain, I make it my mission to resurrect forgotten film classics. I promise to dredge the sewers and ford the stagnant streams of film history to ensure that no film is truly lost to the ages. Count Gauntley and FPA, keeping cinema alive! Alive! Alive!
Even though Joseph's been gone 18 months, we've made the decision to keep all his things as they were when he was here last. I finally just packed his toothbrush away like 6 months ago. It had been sitting on the counter in the bathroom. And I was cleaning the bathroom one day and I just thought, okay, it's time to put the toothbrush in the medicine cabinet.
So I just moved in with his family and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Okay, hi, we're back. And
hi.
Hi, Lori.
Hi there.
Lori Hodgson is now joining us from California via Skype. Welcome to the show, Lori. Reason we have you on is partly because of the recent Supreme Court case of Laura, whose name I forgot.
Laura DeCrescenzo?
DeCrescenzo.
I think.
Yes.
Who just won a Supreme Court case forcing Scientology to release thousands of documents exposing their treatment of women and children in the church. And your story, we talked on the phone yesterday, and it's just fascinating. Not even sure where to start. You go ahead and start anywhere you...
Real quick, just before we get into that, my understanding, and I guess you'll be talking a little bit about that, is that the Church of Scientology, what they do is when people try to leave and they try to expose them, they go into a smear campaign, in other words, against that person, from my understanding.
Right.
And so let's talk about that.
It's not just smear; it's also intimidation, stalking, and all of that.
Coercion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So bring us a little bit from the beginning of your story.
Okay. Well, I joined Scientology when I was 13 years old, so I had a good 30 years in the organization. And 3 years ago, I resigned because of the abuses that were done by Scientology to my children and myself. The thing that was, I think, what I didn't like is how they try to recruit your children behind your back. And, both of my children were in school and doing really good. And then they take them down to the organization and show them a film about how they're going to save the planet and the whole world's going to end in 2 years unless they join Scientology and help. And so now I have, like my daughter, she was 15 and a half, and she wanted to be a veterinarian and was getting A's and B's in school, and she comes back after 3 hours and says, Mom, I want to drop out of school, get my GED, and serve my life to Scientology. And I'm doing this for you because I have to help, the planet's going to end in 2 years. So it's very coercive, what they do to children. No. And it happened again with my son. So both of my children had that coercion of having to do it now. And as a parent, I just think that's so wrong.
Yeah, we got a picture of your kids up on the screen here. My understanding also is that they make underage children sign contracts,
right,
which are not really legally binding if you're under 18.
Right. They do get the parents to sign them, but my daughter signed a 5-year contract when she was 16 to work on staff, and after a couple months she wanted to leave. When she wanted to leave, they made her do interrogation-type counseling, and her debt was $10,000 because she wanted to leave. And she paid that, and then she went back to school. Then they recruited my son, Jeremy, and for the Sea Organization, which they make them sign a billion-year contract. Yeah. So a billion years, life after life, you're going to dedicate your life to Scientology.
Right. Sounds legit.
Wow.
And that's just, it's not legal to. For Jeremy, he was in the Sea Organization for about 7 months.
Can you talk about the Sea Organization a little bit before we can do for our viewers so they know what that is?
Yeah, it's the elite clergy. It's they have one in Florida called Flag, and then one in LA. And basically, you dedicate your life to serving Scientology, and you work very long hours. Jeremy worked probably 10 to 12 hours a day, and he worked 6 to 7 days a week and got paid $30.
And they're getting no schooling in the meantime, right?
They promised me he'd have schooling. It's against the law for him not to have schooling, but he only had about 5 days of schooling in 7 months.
And I'm assuming that schooling is probably brainwashing of Scientology. I would assume it's not regular.
Right, a formal education. I'm
Right.
not sure. I do know that he only had about 4 or 5 days in that whole time, but he did take Scientology classes.
Wow.
And, you know, the hardest part for me when he was in the Sea organization is that he was very homesick, and he cried a lot to come home, and I was never told about this until I found out after he left. And when he wanted to leave, they made him do this interrogative type counseling. I guess he found something out that was really important that the Sea Org did not want to let get out, so they made him sign a $3 million gag contract to not discuss what he saw in the Sea Org. And that's against the law. He's 16 years old. They're coercing him and threatening him with a $3 million gag contract.
Yeah, that raises questions.
So,
what are they hiding?
Well, not only what are they hiding, right? Because clearly, you know, they are coercing him into silence. But where are the legal ramifications? I mean, why isn't this being prosecuted?
I know. I actually reported all this to the authorities. They're working on it. I'm sure a lot of other people have. And, you know, I just advise people to speak out, have the courage to say this is wrong, you know, and we have to fight for our children, not let them, you know, go through this and be coerced and threatened. I mean, my son is probably terrified that he thinks he owes $3 million if he talks about what happened. And my daughter, anyway, so after I found this out, I resigned from Scientology, and I spoke up about it. When you do that, you get coerced yourself as a member. They don't want you to talk. They don't want you to speak critical of Scientology. And so I've been threatened. I've been harassed. I've been stalked across state lines. What they do is illegal, and it's very criminal. So.
They have ways of tracking you that have to do with their ownership of travel agencies, for instance.
Yeah, and we are showing real quick a video of what these people call the Squirrel Busters, where they followed you over to Marty Rathman's house, I believe. And
right, the man in the video, not the one with the beard, but the other one, the tall one, is John Allender. And that's the camera one, but the other one right there, that's John Allender. And this man here is an OT8. That's actually a high level in Scientology. And he, 3 months before he followed me to Marty Rathman's house, he threatened me with in my parking lot and asked me if I enjoyed beating. And he also knew where I was the weekend before, so he tracked my flight, and I reported that to the police. And then 3 months later, he followed me from San Jose, California to Corpus Christi, Texas.
Wow.
To threaten me, you know, humiliate me, to intimidate me so I wouldn't talk. And I was just telling Marty Rathman, my counselor, who I went to for help because I was disconnected from my children. And I needed some help, and I wanted to talk about what John Allender did and all the things that I went through. We just got through talking about this, and these guys show up at the door and followed me, and you know, we reported that to the police as well.
Now, real quick, can you tell us who Marty Rathman is exactly?
Marty Rathman has left Scientology. He was like the second in command. He was in Scientology a long time. And he left because of the abuses of Scientology, and he was teaching Scientology on his own outside of corporate Scientology. And he helped people who have left, who didn't like corporate Scientology, who still, you know, like I was raised in Scientology. It's the only kind of counseling I ever knew. But because the organization lied to me, did these things to my children, I didn't want to go near them. So I found Marty to talk about this and to get some counseling. That's forbidden in the church. You are not allowed to go see another Scientology counselor that is outside corporate Scientology. It's forbidden. You're declared a suppressive person if you do that.
Yeah. There seem to be more eyes on them all the time. I know there's a lot of interest around here to watch them and to document their abuses. But they do have ways of reaching out and intimidating you. I've heard of them meeting people at the airport as they were about to get on an airplane or as they get off an airplane because they know you're coming. So, and then it's not just intimidation, they terrorize some people. And of course, some of the first things we ever heard when we were first becoming aware of Scientology was when they were actually literally putting poisonous snakes in the mailboxes of people who were trying to leave the church.
Just a correction, it's venomous snakes.
Venomous snakes.
Sorry.
What did I say, poisonous?
One of my pet peeves. I'm a herpetologist. I'm an amateur herpetologist, but anyways. But they do horrible things. And actually, we had just shown a graphic earlier, Marty Rothman, and it's like almost like a smear campaign. They're calling him like a psychopath and all that stuff.
We're actually looking at a photo of an observation bunker that they have over their base in California. Yeah, that's what we're seeing. I don't know if you're seeing it, but they do.
Right, I'm seeing it.
Yeah. Where they
they do. They do a smear campaign. They did that with me. They told my children I'm crazy, that I've had a mental breakdown. They took private things out of my confessional folders, very private to me, and they put them on a hate website. And they try to do that to intimidate you so you won't talk. And I knew that was going to happen, but I couldn't be in that organization. I was not going to be coerced any longer.
But
it's just not right.
What's funny about that is that even as they're trying to deny releasing this information on confessional privilege for the Supreme Court, that was part of their argument for the Supreme Court, they're trashing you on a website, releasing very personal details.
Oh yeah, and talking about sexual things, and they actually photographed me when I was at Marty's house. We were out in the boat, and they put a picture, and they said I was doing sexual things, and took, I was born with a smaller leg, and I had a limp, so they made fun of me there. They did a lot of things. And if anybody wanted to see that, it's called Lori Hodgson Dear Diary. It's still on the internet. And, I think that's why a lot of people are afraid to speak out. They don't want that to happen, but they need to speak out, because the more people go out there and tell the truth about what's really going on with the Church of Scientology, I think that people will have the courage to leave and to not put up with it and be forced any longer.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why we want to share your story is because we want to encourage others who may be in your situation to come out, to join your cause. More people need to file lawsuits. I mean, because this is it's criminal what these people are doing. I mean, it's clearly. I mean, I remember I lived in Richmond, went to in Virginia for a while, and a Scientology church opened up on one of our main streets there. And it's interesting to me because the first thing that you see coming into the door, Visa, MasterCard, Amex accepted. So they're clearly, a for-profit and organization that coerce people, to join, it's all a money entity. And then when somebody tries to leave, they are really afraid that they're going to be exposed for what they are. And I think that's really what's going on, right?
That's right, totally. And, I think that's why people put up with it, but, you can only take so much. And when it came to having the lies about my children, that he was going to have his schooling and he was going to be able to call home and he could come home for holidays, they lied. He never could come home. And then even when he wanted to leave, they made him stay off the base for 2 weeks in a separate location with a security guard. I mean, my son is 16. And another thing is my children keep telling me now, Mom, just go back in and do the steps. And I tell people the steps are, you have to go back in and say I've lied about everything. I have to say that, and I haven't. I've told the truth. And then you have to pay for this interrogation counseling and do hundreds of hours of amends to get back in good standing. And why would I want to get back in good standing with a criminal organization? I mean,
Well,
I'm not
exactly.
going to do that.
And they do, they deny the things, women such as yourself who have come out.
Right.
Laura, whose name I forgot again.
Is it Lori
The Supreme,
Yeah.
yes, the Supreme Court case brought us some documents. And I think we have some screenshots of some of those that confirm that what you're telling us are true things.
Right.
They're not behaving admirably in that church or even legally in many cases.
Oh yeah, I can confirm all of this. Some of this. Jeremy would try to write me. His letters had to be opened and looked at before they could be received. I would write him letters. The mail had to be opened. When he called me, there was someone else on the other line. I remember Labor Day. It was our favorite time of year. We would go get cinnamon rolls together, and I told him, he was in the Sea Org, that we just got back from the fair, and I got a cinnamon roll, and I was talking to him, and I could tell he just wanted to cry. And then he had to change the subject. Oh, Mom, the superpower building, you really need to try to donate. But you could tell they were guiding with him what to say. And that is just total manipulation.
Okay.
I mean, and he could only call me 5 times, and it was usually after he had counseling because he was so homesick and he cried so much, and I never knew about this.
That's just horrible. Hey, we have a phone call from Cindy who wants to ask you something about Scientology. Can we patch her in? Cindy, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you for calling in. What's your question?
Thank you. Well, I am an ex-Scientologist myself, and I just had a question about what Lori thought about the fundraising that went on for the superpower bill.
Could you hear that?
Did you hear that?
I didn't get that.
Could you repeat? I'm sorry.
Oh, if Lori had any experience with fundraising for the superpower building.
Fundraising?
No, I didn't. Just through my son. He was trying to get me to donate for it, and he would always have to bring that up in the 5 conversations that we had. It was always that, and he had to talk about that. We couldn't talk about how he's doing, and it was always back to like, Mom, can you can you donate, and can you get, no one needs to do that too. So it was just a high pressure to get money.
Yeah,
I was a fundraiser for superpower, and that was one of the reasons I left Scientology, was because of the huge demands that we were required to make of people.
Cindy, can you explain what the superpower building is?
Sure. It's a building that has been being built in Clearwater, Florida, and was called the Mecca of Scientology. It was started in 1999, and it's just now getting ready to be opened.
Okay.
Wow.
And my experience was basically used as a cash cow.
Yep.
Every week we were given a target of $2 million, $23 million to raise, and we would make our target, and the next week we would be given the same target.
Unbelievable.
Well,
they've collected so much, hundreds of millions of dollars for one building.
like a lot of power religion, they have a lot of interest in cash. My first contact with Scientology, they were asking me for money right away, trying to get me to sign up, take the courses, and all that. Well, it's an expensive thing.
Cindy, thank you for calling. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, so man, I mean anything and everything, and I know that Scientology is a money-making entity. That's what they want.
And of course, they cut their costs by not paying the children that they're working. They're forcing into manual labor and paying them minimally.
I mean, $30 a week, that's illegal slave labor. And I don't even know if Jeremy had a work permit. And you know, his, I don't think I've ever shared this, but his legal guardian in the Sea Org was third under David Miscavige. His name was Bob Wright.
Mm-hmm.
That's my ex's brother. And after Jeremy left the Sea Org, he ended up leaving after over 20 years. And I think it has to do with what Jeremy knows with that $3 million gag contract, is my own guess.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot. I don't know why my kids are so scared and worried about, speaking out. I think it has to do with what Jeremy oversaw or heard, and we're trying to get to the bottom of that, though.
Well, now you haven't seen your children for years at a time. Tell us about when you were able to see your son in Texas.
Yeah, my children disconnected from me about 2.5 years ago. And I didn't see them until my son had a motorcycle accident, a really severe motorcycle accident. And basically I found out that he was in the hospital through Facebook, which was very hard. You're having dinner and you're like, oh my God. And so I had to go down to the hospital. Basically, I couldn't even see my own son. I didn't even know if he was critical. And that's the last time I saw my daughter, so that's why I wanted to bring that up, because the next day I did see my son. I went up to him, I told him I loved him, that I was there all day. I didn't know one was going to stop me. And he said he loved me, and then I hugged my daughter, and she hugged me like she never wanted to let me go. That's why I know my children are not doing this disconnection with their own will. They are being coerced to do it so that I will go back in and not share what's going on with the world, what Scientology does. I know it. Mm-hmm. So then, I haven't seen Jessica since then. That was about 2 years ago. And I recently just went to Texas to see my son. The way I had to do this, because they track my flights, they tap my phone, they don't want me near my kids. I worked with someone that told me how to get my flight without it being tracked, and it worked. Mm-hmm. I got a rental car at the last minute. I directly went to the Austin police station, because since I'm harassed a lot, I have to report into the police wherever I go. And I got the Texas law that if my son asked me to leave, I would have to leave. Mm-hmm. And I went right over to his motorcycle shop. He didn't know I was coming, and I got to see my son. And it was just really emotional to be able to see him. And, he was so happy to see me. He hugged me. He told me he loved me. And he didn't tell me to leave. And then my mom left us alone. And I just said, Jeremy, I just want to be your mom. And I don't care if you do Scientology. I just don't want to do it anymore. But I want to be your mom. I want to call you. I want to find out if you have a girlfriend. And he said that, Mom, you know what to do. You have to go back and do the steps. So right there is this boy hugging me, telling me he loves me, but I can only see him if I go back in and do the steps in Scientology. And he's being coerced. He doesn't want to be away from his family. He's not only lost me, my mom, my father, our whole family. They're not allowed to talk to them because they're associated to me. That's just not right.
No, it's not. As a parent, it's got to be horrible.
And I told Jeremy, I said, there's got to be another way, right? It can't just be this one way that I have to go back in this organization and say I've lied, which I haven't. And I told him, I'll meet with your dad. He goes, you'll meet with dad? I go, yeah, and I'll meet with people in Scientology. Let's work out a way that we can put our family back together. I'm willing. But the church is only saying, only way I can talk to my kids is if I go back in. That's just, they're not willing to give. I don't care if he does Scientology. He can do it, and my daughter, but I don't want to do it. We don't even need to talk about it. I just want to be his mom.
Yeah.
And her mom. And I never got to see my daughter. I waited for 6 days. I went and saw him the first day. I stayed another 6 days. I gave him messages of where I was at. They never showed up. I never got to see my daughter. And
you have beautiful kids,
really
by
sad.
the way. They're beautiful, and it's tragic what's happened. And one question I did have for you. Who has actually parental legal custody of these kids? Do you still have parental legal custody?
Well, Jeremy's 20 now.
Okay.
And Jessica's 23. When Jeremy, when they disconnected, Jeremy was 17.
I see.
And I actually went to court to fight the disconnection and child support and some other things, because I had 60% custody. My ex-husband had 40. they stalled the court until my son was 18. I never got to take him to court for that. But I did win on the child support. I did get all the back pay for that. But I just wanted my son back. But you know, their father is a 100% believer in Scientology. He thinks he's doing the right thing. My kids think they're doing the right thing, but deep down, I know they're being coerced.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah, they seem to be doing it in plain sight and getting away with it, just because they're able to. Well, it's not. I guess in plain sight's wrong, but they're doing this. More and more people like yourself are coming out, and now documentation is out, and documentation continues to dribble out. But people who are trying to reveal them are living under massive surveillance, is our understanding. Can you talk about the level of surveillance you survive with when you're in the church?
We had, you know, a picture of a bunker there earlier. They, you know, surveillance bunkers. I mean, there's a picture of it again. I mean, these guys are like, they're like the NSA, it seems like.
If you're in the organization, you don't have a lot of privileges. You can't carry your cell phone. You can't call your family. You can't go on vacation. I mean, you're strictly monitored. You don't really have, your own life. You're dedicating your whole life to Scientology. That's basically what you do. You can't see your family, and it's you've been very monitored.
It seems to me to be almost like a fascist archipelago just right here in America, and they're able to get away with it because religious privilege. And this is one of the reasons that we're very intent on separation of church and state, is because this is a religious privilege which should not exist in America, certainly not because we have the First Amendment, and yet they are allowed to do this. And it just shows that religion still does have that power, and money, especially the heavily moneyed religions, certainly still have this power. Yeah, and that's what we oppose.
My understanding is that the Church of Scientology has amassed an innumerable amount of wealth. I mean, do you know of any, how much money they have? I mean, I know they're funded by Hollywood stars, so they're probably getting a lot of money from there. Tom Cruise, John Travolta, all these guys.
Right. Yeah, I don't actually know. I know it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I don't know the exact amount.
So one quick question I have. So that actress, there was a famous actress recently, Rimini, I think her last name is Rimini. She just
Leah Remini?
Yeah, she just recently defected from Scientology. She wants to write a book. She's been kind of vocal. Have you thought about contacting her, maybe and other Scientology, ex-Scientology members, to kind of start forming a cohesive organization to maybe help stop this criminal organization called Scientology?
That's a really good idea. I've actually tried to reach out to her, so I'm working on that right now.
Oh, wonderful.
What other legal remedies are you pursuing?
Basically just being able to speak out and share my story. I have reported everything with authorities. I work with the local authorities in both cities that I live in, and with the higher authorities. I can't really say who they are, but I just think people need to report it, and then they're doing their job. They're investigating it. They're trying to figure out, to get this stopped, and that's what we want.
Well, because
it's criminal what they're doing, and
it's absolutely criminal, and legislators need to be aware of this, and somehow they seem to be able to just disregard this as not real, and that's why more people like yourself need to come out and tell these stories.
Yeah. So. And not only what they've done, with my kids is that when they were recruiting them behind my back, I was also just getting back from a knee replacement surgery, and I was on high levels of Oxycontin, and they were outside my door, slamming on my door, trying to talk to me to take my son. And they don't, they teach you in Scientology to, when someone's sick or has an accident, to be very quiet. They do the opposite. And that's when you go, this isn't what I signed up for.
Right. Well, the incredible level of control they impose on people's lives. For instance, Laura DiCrescenzo was forced at the age of 17 to have an abortion, which was part of the documentation that came out with her Supreme Court win.
So the producers are asking a question. Talk about Laura's case and the documents found. I think we have an image there about.
Right.
And we only have a few seconds left, so real quick,
right,
do you know about
minute.
that? Yep. About
Right.
those documents?
They do not, they coerce them to have an abortion because they're there to dedicate their life to Scientology, and that would get in the way. I think that's wrong. And I'm so glad that if this is going to trial now, and she's going to be able to share her case.
Yeah, well, listen,
I think
Laura,
there's a lot of people that can help. Like I am, it does happen with children. They do get coerced. They don't get to talk to their family.
Well, we got to stop right here, unfortunately, because we're running out of time. And we want to thank you for coming on.
And please, we're going to stay in touch with you too, because we want to find out how this progresses as it goes along.
And we do want to help.
Because we are interested.
Yes. We'll stay in touch. And thank you for coming on, for sharing your story. And we'll probably have you on again as these things progress, because I have a feeling things are about to get really big with the Scientology. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, Lori Hodgson, for joining us.
I want to thank our viewers. I want to thank Cindy for calling, and everyone. Join us next week, 3 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like us on Facebook,
YouTube.
Watch us on YouTube. We stream on Ustream when we're live.
And
so read your Bibles.
And research Scientology to find out all this stuff. Thank you for joining us, and thank you again, Lori.